welcome to a Monday afternoon roundtable. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to introduce our guest today. Well, first of all, I'm Jason Munday. Our guest today is Mike Payne, who's a good friend of mine. And before we get into anything else, I'd like to apologize for missing last week because the entire office that we have here was out with the flu, and we're now getting back to normal, so we're a week behind. But Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your two businesses you have here in town.
Okay. Well, Jason, I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you came.
If it'd been a year ago, we would have probably had a plexiglass.
That's true. And be
shield in
wearing
between
masks.
us.
Yeah, we'd have our little cloth ninja mask on, wouldn't we?
We would have. Just a little over 10 years ago, I and my partner, Jamie Parker, started GameSwap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a video game store. We deal with retro and new video games and video game systems. And we dabble in a little bit of comics, toys, but mostly, physical gaming.
Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed living here in Lincoln, especially in the spring and summertime, y'all are open later hours for the teenagers, early 20s. Y'all have tournaments or
Yes.
something or game?
We did pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I know we got knocked down with that a lot
Yeah.
because of the restrictions. And so we wound up filling a lot of that with other merchandise.
Yeah.
But we plan on bringing a lot of that stuff back as soon as we can make room for the tournaments and stuff like that. But our hours are always late during winter, summer, spring. But yeah, we tend to run a little longer on the weekends.
Yeah. I remember probably 5 to 6 years ago, we were living in town where we were building our house, and my daughters, at that time they were 14, so they would go walk uptown, and that was one of their stops was the GameSwap, and then the ice cream place, and they'd make their little rounds, and it was good to see in the evenings in the spring and summertime when it was you had places for the kids to go, and that's still a good.
Absolutely.
It's a positive,
It's great to see walking traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Downtown, especially, a younger crowd, and that they can feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
and visit the different shops, different restaurants, ice cream shops, yogurt shops, anything that's open at that time.
Yeah. And we're blessed here in Lincoln that we have a variety of shops and eateries for all age groups.
Yes.
And that's one thing, and you're very active in the downtown development, I guess, community, we'd say.
Right.
And you're help with you like to see other businesses thrive.
Yes.
And you've got a second business that just recently opened.
Yes, we did. And that's actually taken a lot of my time away from, different things involved in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But we still do different events. But yes, we just opened up our second store. It's totally different from the video game store. We deal with oddities, curiosities, horror, anything like that, anything in between. Taxidermy, religious,
Mm-hmm. And what's the name of it?
The Odd Duck.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's kind of I've been in there. You can find something for anybody, just about. I mean, there's you can't go in that store without saying, "Hey, this is pretty neat. Check this out." Like the day I was in there, I asked you about the dentist chair. You had a retro. It's probably 100-year-old dentist.
100-year-olds. It's from the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful chair, dentist chair. It's been restored as far as certain parts of the seating. Gosh, it's a beautiful piece, but it's also a scary piece as well because we've come a long way in the 100 years as far as medical field.
Oh, definitely. Another thing that you do that's really important, I think, is you help highlight local artists and their work in your store. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. It's something we started with at the game store, but, we could go a lot bigger with it at the Odd Duck.
Mm-hmm.
That's highlighting different artists, and that way their work is seen where it wouldn't be seen anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't fit into a typical art show.
Yeah.
This is art that's out of the box.
Mhm.
Your odd, not normal kind of art. And what we're doing now is we are doing a once a month event on Friday nights, usually during mid-month. Anything based around a holiday or event or just a different theme for every month.
That's cool. And the location of Odd Duck is not on Main Street, but it's right off of Main Street. I guess that is Sycamore Street.
Yes, we're on the corner of Sycamore and North Academy.
Yep, and right near the walking trail, and the water pad park is near there.
Yes.
So it's right near a lot of our uptown, downtown, whatever you want to call it, locations. And let's talk about how we kind of got interacted with this project that you thought of, how that kind of blossomed into an idea, and we're trying to work on that now.
Okay. Well, it was an idea that I had thought about for a while, and I couldn't have done this without you, so I contacted you because I knew you knew the more the details and more the how-to than I did.
Yeah.
I'm a big picture person.
Yeah.
But the details and the how-to is a lot of times I'm not familiar with.
Yep. And basically it was me and my nephew Garrett, who does the wrestling podcast with us. We were just basically on a lunch break in between doing podcasts and came in the store and just shot the breeze with you. And then we kind of started talking about this. Well, it started talking about your new store, and then started talking about all the unsolved cases here locally, the missing people, unsolved murder cases. And we don't want to get a rumor or a story started that we have a serial killer. It's nothing like that. We don't suspect anything like that.
I've seen that pop up quite
Yeah,
a few times.
We're just wanting to get, basically, to keep these cases alive and people talking.
Yes. And that was the idea with it, as far as being in the store and dedicating a wall in our local room to that. So you can see it. It's in your face. Social media is a great outlet for this, but oftentimes people are scrolling through so fast through stories that this gets skipped over.
And the wall you've got dedicated, we're going to try, we've got probably 8 or 9 on there now, but we're going to try to get up to 20 maybe.
Yes. I know right now we're at some of the more high profile cases.
And before we go into the cases, we'll talk, you have a wide variety of people that come into your stores.
Yes.
You have the younger crowd, and then you have older crowd that is older probably than us, that are looking for crafts or neat artistic,
absolutely,
outside the box art type stuff. You may have like I enjoy the record collection you got there, vinyl. You got all kinds of stuff. You got different people coming in, and if you've got different people from different walks of life, and they see that wall, it could jar something. They could say, hey, they'll remember the picture. They might say, oh, that poor child, or I'd like to help that family. Let's try to keep this alive. Let's,
I know a person that knows a person that
and
knows
just
something.
And local law enforcement, I'm gonna give them their props. They have a lot going on, and they're constantly busy. I know because I used to work doing that, and it's hard for them to stay on top of these cold cases, and that's not a negative towards them. They're doing the best they can with the manpower and the resources they have. So by local business like yourself and myself, just by helping keeping this active is a small part, because you law enforcement has the impossible task of working on these cold cases.
Yes.
And time is of the essence in all of these cases, and you're already behind the 8 ball once a case gets cold. Before we go into the cases, let's talk about this past Friday, Friday the 13th.
Friday
You had
13th.
your ribbon
Yes.
cutting. Now, you had been open prior to that, but this was your grand
Yeah,
opening.
this was our grand opening ribbon cutting,
All
the
right.
official opening.
Tell us about that. And ideally, this podcast was going to be recorded prior to that,
Yes.
but because of the flu, so now we're doing it. We're going to talk backwards about it, but tell us how it went.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was a great turnout. Of course, a lot of our local leaders were there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great time. And we got to unveil this wall because we had had it closed down for 2 weeks, that whole room,
Yeah.
just working on this. And we got to open it up whenever we did the ribbon cutting. So everybody got to see it, and everybody was, wow.
Well,
This is a really good thing.
and that's great. And it seemed a lot of support from the city. You had the city manager there, some city council members, I think, the mayor, members of the police department were there.
Yes.
It looked like other business owners. So that's good to see our community and town rally around new business. And then they did the same thing when we had our business opening. And we're fortunate here in Lincolnton to have that kind of support.
Yes, we are. Because everybody knows everybody. Everybody's so close. Businesses helping out businesses.
Yeah, and if your business thrives, it helps your neighboring business thrive as well. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of some of these cases. The first one I want to go over is the most recent one in Cornelius, which is not far from here. I would say 30 miles from here, maybe.
Cornelius, I would say probably
Maybe-
about 40,
Maybe more than that. Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're going through.
It's on the outskirts of Charlotte. This young lady has been. Her name is Madalena Kojikari. Okay, and she is from. Is it Ukraine or Russia? Or is it
Moldova.
Moldova.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Last seen on November 22nd of 2022, but she was not reported missing until December 15th by her school resource officer. The young lady is 11 years old, a little precious little, just sweet-looking young lady.
By all accounts, a fantastic student.
Yeah.
Not a problem child whatsoever.
Yeah, and just well liked by her peers and her teachers in the community. Last seen wearing jeans, pink, purple, and white Adidas tennis shoes, and a white T-shirt and jacket. If anybody has any information on this, it's been in the news recently. Keep this story active until we can find some answers on this. The Cornelius Police Department is the lead agency working it, but also the FBI and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children are working it. Also, North Mecklenburg Crime Stoppers has a phone number of 704-896-7773 if you would like to give any information anonymously, and it can pay a reward.
Yes. I know with this, I know as well, one of the things I've seen a lot with, we're all true crime junkies.
Mm-hmm.
We are. A lot of people like to be online sleuths, just themselves, or like to interject themselves into cases. I would say the best thing you could ever do would be to share these missing persons every day, or at least every week, just to keep this alive.
And that's what we'll do as well. When this podcast airs next week, we'll put these posters with our social media platforms where you can share it. And you bringing it up about the true crime and the online sleuths, there have been cases where amateur or online quote-unquote detectives have helped solve cases.
Yes, there are.
Now, my take on this is, if we get one positive result from this, it was well worth our time.
Yes.
And just elite, so, and like you said, sharing it, getting it out there, getting it out in the community, keeping it active. That's the goal of this project, so to speak.
Yes.
All right. The next one is an older case that we've talked about in one of our podcasts, Aisha Degree, in Cleveland County, which is neighboring here as well. Probably another 30 minutes from here.
Yes.
She was last seen on February 14th, 2000. A black female, date of birth August 5, 1990. Black hair, brown eyes. She was last seen by her family sleeping in her bed at approximately 2:30 a.m. on February 14th, 2000. Also, that same date, she was seen walking along Highway 18 near Shelby. Just like Madalena, she was a wonderful young lady that everybody loved. The community loved her. The schools loved her. Not a problem child. Just Star athlete. Just well thought of and just had a beautiful smile. Hopefully, best case scenario, she's alive out there somewhere as an adult and we can find her.
Yes.
This poor family has went through almost 23 years of not knowing.
Yes.
And that's got to be heartbreaking. We want to keep this case alive, and this and Madalena, they're similar in age. And I have two daughters. This is it truly is heartbreaking. I cannot imagine how they must feel.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that we're right at 23 years.
Yeah, and I remember it seems like yesterday this case, and you can see the billboards, they're still up.
Yes.
and that's good. We want to keep her memory and her name alive and hope for the best and keep things going, keep it active.
Well, actually, I believe, less than a month on the anniversary, that they have the yearly walk.
Yeah.
From the house to the last known location where she was seen.
Right off 18 somewhere, I think. And this has been the probably the most famous case of this generation.
Yes.
Locally.
Absolutely.
I would say. Next, we're going to talk about. Let's see. We got one more. I want to talk about another missing. We got two more missing people. I want to talk about. We've got another recent missing person here in Lincoln. His name is William Merrick Carter. He was last seen on August 21st, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. It's a black male, date of birth August 5th, 1990. Short black hair and beard and brown eyes. Carter was last seen at his residence located at 107 Mooney Drive in Lincoln. His only means of transportation is by walking. He would frequently walk the area of North Aspen Street in Lincoln. Mr. Carter is also known by the community. He didn't have a car. He would frequently walk the North Aspen Street area. People would see him. He would frequent the convenience stores. This case is gotten a little bit of attention too, and we want to keep it active. There's just there's no reason for him to be missing. There's no underlying, cause that we can think of. So this is kind of a baffling case. Yes. The Lincoln Police Department's working. I believe Detective Sergeant Billy Siebenhauer is the case agent on that. Has done really good job in keeping the case active and pictures out in the media. It's just, we really want to help these families because there's the unknown.
Yes.
So anybody, if they have any information on Mr. Carter, let the Lincoln Police Department know. Another case that's kind of older is Tasha Nicole Rice. She was last seen on May 26, 2014 at 6 p.m. in western Lincoln County off Acre Road. White female, brown hair, blue eyes, 5'7", 140 pounds. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office is working this missing person case. When I was with the city, we helped with some leads on this case, and this has been a very active case, even though it's going on 9 years old now. Miss Rice also has an alias of Nikki Green. There's been several searches. I know we've had dogs, a lot of search teams with this case, and still no answers. There's a lot of speculation out there. A lot
of theories.
Yeah, that we could all, talk about. But there's really nothing that has led to any positive. Yeah. So again, keep her out there and try to, just we want to keep these cases active.
And that was another thing that we kind of added into the room with this, and that was what we're calling a tip box. Basically, you can. It's a box. It's a locked box with a drop in the top of it, and there's paper and pen there that anyone with any information can write anonymously and put it in the box, and you're not being recorded, or anything like that. Anonymously, you can put it in there, and hopefully, that would help with any case.
And any information that we get will be forwarded to the local law enforcement agency and it'll be anonymous. It would be truly anonymous because we wouldn't know who wrote it, or they're not going to know. So that's always an option. If you have information and you don't feel comfortable calling on a phone or going face to face or doing an email or something like that, you can write it on there and put it in the tip box. And that's another idea that you had that is very positive, that works with these types of cases.
Yes.
Now, we're going to go on to the unsolved murders. Now, just to give a background, believe it or not, most murder cases is about, the solvability rate is about 50%. So each area is going to have its own unsolved cases. There's 3 that we're going to talk about specifically today. The most recent one is William McCarter. This happened, he was last seen on June 29th, 2021. His body was found July 13th, 2021 on Smith Farm Road in Lincoln, which is just right outside the city limits, south of the city. There's been a lot of talk about this case. There's a $10,000 reward on this case. We could speculate a lot. There's a lot of information come and went about this case. There's a lot of theories on this case. Mr. McCarter was well known in the local community. A lot of people know his family. A lot of people know, were within the same circles of friendship, went to school with him, grew up with him. More than one person, there's several people that know what has happened.
Absolutely.
I would say, at least a handful. And they really need to think about this. It is eventually going to come out what happened. And when I was a police officer, I remember we would tell people when we would interrogate them, honestly, and this is not a line of bullshit, this was the truth. Right. The person that gives the information up the first always gets the best deal. And somebody out there knows. And more importantly, help this family out. These families are going through a lot.
This family is very adamant about having information.
Yes.
For this.
Yeah, and they're very active on social media, wanting to keep the case alive. And their argument is the same thing I just said. People know what happened. They're just not saying. Put yourself in their shoes. This is a horrific incident, period, and then not to know what happened or who is responsible makes it even tougher.
When you go back to speculation and theories, no matter what the situation, the means has to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does. It has to be analyzed and looked at and taken care of within our system.
Yes.
So that's an important case. Another case, an unsolved murders here in the city. It's Johnny Ray Izzard Jr. Izzard was shot to death on May 4th, 2018, shortly before midnight. His body was found on Newbold Street. The Lincoln Police Department is working this case. This case I knew Mr. Izzard. He had a nickname of Nuke. I dealt with him as a police officer from the time he was a teenager till up until his death, and I got to see him and his the mother of his child one night, and their young child. I got to see him probably about 3 or 4 months before this happened. I was talking to him, and he was doing good. He said he's staying out of trouble, concentrating on his family, working, doing good. And for all practical reasons, it seemed that he was. Right. He put a lot of stuff behind him that he done as a young man. But again, this is a case somebody knows what happened. Absolutely. Somebody knows why he was there on Newbold Street, who he was going to meet, who he met. If it was an ambush, it sounds like it might have been. I don't know. Just pure speculation. Again, we have a small community, a tight-knit community, but that means people know what happened. And again, for the family's sake, they need to know what has happened, and the people need to be brought to justice. Yes. And the last case we're going to talk about is Charles Daniel Mullinax. Mr. Mullinax owned a business out on 150 in Krause going towards Cherryville. He was known as the quote-unquote junk man. Yes. And had a business where it basically had stuff.
Yes.
And he'd been cited several times by the county about the trash or the junk, but he would
imagine Sanford and Son times 100.
Yeah, Sanford and Son times 100, yeah. And he would sell and deal in cash.
Yes.
So people knew he carried cash with him and had a lot of cash with him. The initial call came out on June 20th, 2010 at 5:30 p.m. of his business being on fire. After the fire was put out, they found his body. It was taken to Chapel Hill for an autopsy, and it was determined he was murdered. It didn't say how he was murdered. I can speculate, but I would assume he was either stabbed or shot. I don't know either. Or
at one point, I thought it had been released that he had been shot.
It may have been. I just didn't look, but it was shown that he was murdered, and then the fire took place afterwards as a means to probably cover up the fire. Again, there's been a lot of talk and rumor and innuendo about this case. A lot of theories. A lot of people, speculate. Again, there's in all of these cases, in all of them, I would venture to say at least a half dozen people that know what has happened in each case. They may not have been directly involved, but they know from, they have proof of what happened.
This one in particular took on a legend all of itself. I mean, there were so many theories and stories, and just, I remember hearing at one point, he had do you remember the old Ronald McDonald that would sit on the benches outside of McDonald's in the play?
The life size.
Yeah. He had one on the roof. Mm-hmm. And it was said at one time he had a camera up there.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
But, that's where those stories would take their own life.
Mm-hmm.
There was just so much around this one in particular.
Yeah. And that it's like a local urban legend,
yes,
so to speak. And these cases, every community has these types of cases, and we're just trying to do our part into getting, keeping these cases active. And again, speculation and talk keeps these cases going. We don't want to run on non-truths, but we want to turn over every rock and see if there's something to it. Just keep the information going. Get in touch with the local authorities. If you don't want to get in touch with law enforcement, get in touch with the tip box. Put that in there. Anything and everything is good for these cases. If we can get one positive thing come out of this, it's worth it.
Yes, I know. It's been my experience that people don't want to get involved, but want to kind of get involved.
Yeah, it's odd. Nobody wants to officially get involved like you're saying, but everybody wants to talk about it.
Yes.
And it's like, well, I heard this and I heard that, and I can't remember where I heard it from, but I'm this or that, And sometimes these theories take on lives of their own, and they're not exactly true. So we have to weed out information, but we've got to have information coming in.
Yes.
Lack of information, you know, an investigator cannot do anything with any of these cases unless there's information coming in.
I would rather not be at the end of my life and see that these are still unsolved.
Yeah.
Unsolved, missing.
And you know, even let's say put in perspective that, you know, some of these family members may, you know, end up dying before these are solved, and that's a great tragedy.
Yes.
You know, there's unsolved cases that are hundreds of years old that nobody, you know, and we don't want that to happen. Just remember the Odd Duck, and the address we talked about. It's at the corner of Sycamore and Academy.
North Academy.
So go check it out. Check out we're going to add some more posters to the wall. That's coming up. We're going to try to get that in the next week or two. It's got phone numbers on each one of them, and you've got the tip box. Mike, is there anything else you want to talk about while I got you on there?
No. I mean, like I said, you know, we've got a long way to go. You know, there's a lot. There's just a lot of unsolved, a lot of missing persons, and we're there. I mean, we're into it. I mean, for a long haul.
Yep.
Whatever we have to do.
So go check Mike out at the Odd Duck and at GameSwap. And hopefully we'll have you back on again. Maybe we can talk more business stuff, and maybe we'll have a positive lead on one of these cases.
Yes.
That's the best case scenario we're looking for.
And hopefully, you know, by the end of the year, you know, we'll have a good amount of tips.
Yes.
That we can kind of go through and, you know, separate the BS from the.
Yeah, and that comes in the territory. You're going to get a lot of misinformation, and we'll get that to the right people, and you know, they can decide what is good and what is not, and we can help on that end as well. But guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to have our last call shortly after this. Again, I want to apologize for missing last week. We've had just the flu bug has really just hit the office here pretty hard.
If you're going to get through it at the beginning of the year.
That's right. And get your co-pays out of the way or whatever with insurance. Isn't that what it is? Also, be sure to like, share, subscribe on all our social media outlets. Monday Afternoon Roundtable, we've got a Facebook page. We've got a YouTube page. Also, check out the Odd Duck on social media. Like, share, subscribe. You're very active with the Odd Duck page on a lot of your products and a lot of your guests and art and things you have going on.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll catch you next week.
Welcome back. Let's go. You ready? Do it again. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Welcome, everyone, to the Monday Afternoon Roundtable last call. Got their group here today. We got something special to drink, and looking forward to it. How did your podcast go earlier?
It went really well. Yeah, it was good.
I missed it, and hate I did. I'm going to look forward to listening to it. Today, we're going to do Troy and Sons Keeper Apple Brandy. Tim got this.
Christmas present.
Christmas.
A little Hawaiian tutu got me that.
That's his girlfriend.
Do you know what Hawaiian tutu is?
No, I don't want to know.
We don't want to know.
That's what they call grandparents in Hawaii.
Tutu. That's true. That's
Is it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They got it for you?
She did.
Well, how cool. I learned something today.
Limited edition.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit about it on the back here. The single barrel small batch brandy is a product of fresh apples grown in North Carolina mountains. So it's probably Taylorsville, most likely. The cider farm pressed and then carefully fermented in traditional fashion, distilled in copper pots, aged in white oak barrels. The Keeper is the original spirit produced by their forefathers. Full of richness and complexity, this limited edition brandy offers an exceptional smoothness, and we're going to find out here in a minute. Each barrel is unique, so no two limited edition offerings are ever the same. That's like we did last week.
Yep.
So it says, we're sure you will savor the experience of this unique brandy opportunity by Mr. Troy. Yep, 208, bottle number 157, Distiller SH. I like how they do that. That's cool. So, you ready, Marcus?
I'm ready.
If we can't get a close up because our producer's not here, but Mark's shirt says may contain alcohol. So, and that's probably no doubt.
Should say probably.
Yeah.
His wife's a bartender, right? She not a bartender? I thought she was.
She works in a doctor's office.
Well, I thought she part-time bartender.
No.
Well, I'm wrong.
Just around the house.
Oh, okay.
Mark's bartender.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's who I'm thinking of. Is that good?
Not going to pour a full cup like last week.
Yeah.
If you missed last week, you need to watch
That's
it.
the best one ever.
Yeah, when we did last call, it was funny.
Very entertaining. Jay?
Most people drink their brandy straight up, but I got to have ice with mine.
Yeah, it makes it a little.
It makes it a little easier. Smells good.
Oh, it does smell. Smells
Good
great.
looking package, good bottle.
Put that right there because then we'll
Jason,
put it
you
back
don't
on.
look impressed.
Jason, you said that was a female owner.
Yeah.
Female-owned company.
Yeah, her name's on that paper.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jason. Where is it? Troy Ball.
Tracy?
No? Tracy? No.
Is it
Troy's her name.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Troy Ball.
And they're out of Asheville and Old Fort. It was founded in 2010. They've got different brands or different types, and they were looking for different recipes of moonshine to pattern after.
Well, they found it.
Yep.
That's good stuff. I don't think I've had a bad one yet.
That's really smooth.
It is.
90 proof.
You can drink that all day long.
That's really smooth. Wow.
Last week I had to finish Brianna's, and I had probably a shot and a half. Maybe, well, you poured it. It was probably 2 shots.
No, she poured it.
She poured it. That's correct. And that was 121 proof.
It was stout.
And we had to sit around a little while after that one, so it was a good time.
Really, it was 2 weeks ago because
2 weeks,
we
that's
had
right.
to cancel last week. Everybody here was sick except David.
Yeah, I had the flu. Went through the office pretty bad, and we got through that. So we're back at it. And this is good flu medicine.
Flu medicine.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna give it a grade, as we do, 1 to 10. 10. We'll start with you.
Not much apple to it, is there?
A little bit. I can
Just a
taste the apple.
touch. Just a touch.
Just
Yeah.
a touch, not much. Not
Yeah.
like you think.
It's not like Crown Apple where it's all you taste is apple.
That's a good blend. It's got I can taste the apple. A little bit of
heat to it, not much.
no, and it gets better as you drink it.
Yeah.
I'm
It
gonna
always
go.
does.
I'm gonna go 8.5.
Mark,
I give it an 8.
7.5.
why?
I think it's more on my part, and I think it's because I'm getting over sickness and I'm not getting the full taste of it.
That's probably-
the taste is I'm not catching all the taste of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, your taste buds are all screwed up. I'm sure
Yeah,
because of the flu.
The smoothness is great though.
Yeah,
Really smooth.
yeah. I'm gonna give it a 9. I like it.
David like it.
Well, but again, I give good grades because he only brings good stuff in here, and you bring good
What
stuff.
what is her name? Troy?
That's
Troy
what it said.
Ball.
Troy Ball.
We're gonna have to find out a little more about it, but
We'll invite her down for a tasting with us.
There's the address of the distillery.
yeah, we can tell her.
French Broad Avenue, Asheville.
And I didn't know we had that many distilleries this close, and we've already tested.
This is the second one that's close. We had the Conway Springs.
Oh,
one, Dignified.
we had another one. I can't recall what it was, but we've had several, and it's I like that.
That's a good idea to have somebody from the distillery maybe come be on the show.
I don't recall, but
Yeah.
so the average score about a 8.5 is what it's going to
That
be,
sounds
and
about right.
that's a good blend. Thank you, Karen. Last call. I appreciate all of you being here. Look forward to next week. What do we got next week? Do you know?
Don't know yet.
Okay, we're still
Well,
working on
well,
that.
Have to go shopping.
We've been extremely busy.
Everybody's been
Yeah,
busy.
we've been in the flu and all the other stuff, so we're trying to catch up. But we'll have another.
That's a
last
good
call.
thing, being busy.
It is right now. I'm telling you. So thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week.
See you next time.
Thanks.